What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here back again. This is another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching or listening, depending on what you're doing. So we have Alex here today. How you doing?
I'm good.
For people that are listening along, can you just introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about who you are and what you got going on right now?
Okay. Hold on. Okay. I'm Alex. I've been training here for almost 2 years now. I recently transitioned into gear lifting. Did my first meet in gear back in November, and I'm getting into that now.
And also, you work with like animals and stuff. Or what do you do? Like,
yeah. So I'm actually a pre-veterinary student. I want to go to vet school, and my passion is rescuing animals and animal welfare and all that kind of stuff.
cool. Very cool. So so it's a little bit about Alex. So she's been training with us for a while. She's been doing fantastic. So a little kind of iron cred. I know she's hit a 300-pound raw squat, which has been fantastic. She just recently hit 400 in the suit, almost to near death, but you made it. So that was great. Mm-hmm. So I've been climbing, benching over 200 in the shirt, which has been cool. So. And I know, I think the last two meets or whatever, I know 300-pound squat was at 132, so that was a really big lift. So she's making some great progress. So I want to kind of rewind a little bit before you started coming here. I know you were kind of dabbling, lifting a little bit. You were trying to get stronger. So what made you start training? What kind of inspired you to do that? And how did you kind of get started along this whole journey of getting exercising and things like that?
I started going to the gym probably I don't know, 6-7 years ago. Just kind of
What did those kind of workouts look like, and what was your motivation behind that?
I was actually dating a guy who was just a real asshole, and he just kind of would always just tell me my body didn't look right and stuff like that. It was that kind of thing. So and he was just buff and stuff. So he kind of pushed me into going, and I just went to a Planet Fitness, and I ended up actually going on the Smith machine, and I ended up being the strongest girl at Planet Fitness, just squatting on the Smith machine.
The queen of Planet Fitness.
Yeah, squatting 225, but on the Smith machine.
Yeah.
Somehow, I just always had over a few years, I just kind of built up strength. I just had this natural gravitation towards just being strong, and then eventually I got out of that relationship, and then I guess through the internet I kind of discovered what powerlifting was. I had no idea what it was for a long time, and
what were some things that you were kind of searching, and what you would just I guess you were okay, I guess you kind of noticed that you were maybe lifting a little bit more than some of the other girls at the gym. And you kind of started to enjoy that. So what were you kind of searching, and what was kind of that?
Well, I guess I got kind of bored with just going and lifting, and I'm not really motivated by training to look a certain way. And I guess I kind of wanted to do something competitive with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just kind of stumbled across powerlifting, and then I started just asking people in a commercial gym in sports club who were just really strong, hey, do you powerlift? How do I
get into this?
Do you have yeah. And then somehow I found this gym on Powerlifting Watch, and I just kind of was you know what, I'm not gonna just wait on this. A lot of people will just say, oh, I'll get to it eventually.
Am I ready, or
that
sort of thing.
Kind of just did it one day.
So cool. And then so what was that like? So obviously going in the commercial gym, and then I remember, it was definitely, you started out kind of, doing more kind of normal, weights and stuff, nothing too crazy. So what was it like kind of coming to the gym for the first time into the different environment, and then kind of just, I guess learning the lifts over, and what was that process like?
I mean, it's a little scary at first, when you first walk in here, because it's you're in this gym with heavy metal playing, and just a bunch of big people and stuff like that. But this gym is very welcoming of everyone, and you're very much hands-on with everyone and make everyone feel comfortable. So, but I learned how little tweaks make such a big difference in my lifts. And even just certain things, like I was having, like I'd always have pain when I would squat in my hip. And then you just tweaked it a little bit and I never felt it again.
Yeah.
So it was just relearning everything.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point for people starting out, because some people might have a certain perception of like what a certain movement is or what a certain movement does to their body, or like, you know, oh, well, squats always hurt my hip, or squats always hurt my knee, or deadlifts always hurt my back, or bench always hurts my shoulder or my elbow, whatever the case may be. But then it's like finding the right mechanics, not just like in general, but also for your body, and kind of tweaking that, I think is really good. And just kind of like learning like actually how to set your body up and actually create tension and all those things. So that's really good point. So you're training, you're doing really well. I know like you're a little bit like more quiet and reserved, and then you kind of start to get more comfortable and everything. And you know, what was there like kind of a moment where you kind of realized like, hey, you know, I'm doing well. I want to do my first meet. I want to start to kind of push a little bit, because obviously I know like I remember when you started. You know, I could usually kind of pick out some things, but then if you said like, oh, like, you know, Alex is gonna maybe, you know, in a couple of years squat 400 or whatever, I might not pick that out right away. So you've been like really good, and that's, proud of you for that, because you just kept chipping away and you kept making progress little by little, and it just really added up over time. So was there like a moment where like you kind of really wanted to take it to the next level, or kind of figure out like, I want to like start competing and take this a little bit more serious, and you know, just kind of be a little bit more, just try to like take your lifts up like to the next level?
Well, I did my first meet like 2 months after I started training
kind
here,
of just
just
threw you into it a little bit.
and I kind of and I kind of remember that day being like, this is such a long day. I don't think I ever want to do this again. But then afterwards, it was kind of like by the end of the day, it was such a high.
Yeah.
That I was kind of like, I kind of just got like hooked on it.
Yeah.
So after that, I was like, oh, you know what? I think I'm stuck on this. Like,
yeah.
So it was kind of like from the first meet.
Yeah. I always tell people like, and that's something we don't try to force anyone to do to do a meet or whatever, but I always tell people, because a lot of people like, you know, you invest all this time and all this stuff, and you're like, you know, I'm going to wait, you know, whatever, X amount of months or years or whatever until I'm ready. But you know, why not do it and just actually see if you like it? That's what I always say, because if you're gonna spend a year or whatever, and then you do your meet and you don't like it, it's kind of like, well, you kind of almost just like wasted a year, kind of just, you know, attaining this thing that you don't even really like. So, and I agree, like it's kind of like that, the competition setting and like hitting a lift like on a stage or in front of people, it's definitely like a way different feeling, and I think it's definitely more gratifying like hitting a PR like on a platform and stuff like in front of people. And I know like for me sometimes, even if I'm just coaching, sometimes I even have trouble like sleeping that night, just because it's like such like a roller coaster of emotions, and you get like really, especially if it's a good day for you, you get really pumped up. So you know, so now you're kind of going through it. You know, I know like you did really well, like obviously hitting a 300-pound squat for one is this fantastic milestone. And then you started dabbling in knee wraps and things like that. So what kind of attracted you to trying out the equipment, and what made you want to just try out like a different type of lifting and getting into the equipment and doing that?
I think it's just the idea of trying something different. Because powerlifting seems to have gotten really, more popular. And it just seems like, you can get lost in a sea of everyone kind of doing the same thing, or you can try something that is kind of not as many people are doing now, at least nowadays.
Sure.
Lifting used to be, more popular than it is. And also, obviously training with Benny, who's, in the shirt all the time, and I just know how exciting it is for him.
Yeah.
And I know how much fun it is for me when I when I do like 1 rep max and I feel that heavy weight in my back.
Yeah.
So with equip lifting, you get that high of having like the big weight on you more often.
It's even like magnified more because you're like doing more than you could handle otherwise raw. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people, one thing I always try to preach to the people here, and also you have to kind of like forge your own path. Don't, someone's goals on the internet or whatever is their goals. So like to say like, oh, this is like the only way to do it. You have to like walk out your squats. You have to only, just wear knee sleeves. Try, if you want to try knee wraps, or you want to try a squat suit or whatever, there's nothing wrong with it. Try it, see if you like it. I always say it's with equipped lifting and stuff, it's just a completely different animal, and it's more of a skill, and I think it's definitely more of a challenge. So there is potential to lift more weight, but there's also potentially a lot more that can go wrong. And it definitely can be frustrating, but it's definitely really gratifying when everything kind of clicks and you can, hit like a huge weight. I know for me, it's just a way different feeling, like say squatting 900 versus, squatting 600 or 700. It's just like a different feeling, and then the pressure and everything. It's definitely really gratifying, but definitely give it a try if there's people in your area. I think that's something where it definitely helps to have people around you to help. So maybe you could talk about just like maybe how it's like training with the team, and also because obviously with the equipped lifting you can't really do that by yourself. Like what is it like kind of training with the group and then getting help from people when you're working up really heavy?
I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's just powerlifting. It's a solo sport, but it's not. So it's kind of fun, just like forming friendships with people and bonding with people, even though you're training, you're alone on the bench or in the mono or whatever, but you're not, because you have your teammates with you all the time. So it's a really that's the thing about equipped lifting. It's more of a team effort than even raw lifting is.
Yeah, I definitely like that aspect too, and it's like literally you have, like if you're going for a big squat or whatever, you like literally have multiple people that have your back, making sure your life is safe. I agree. It's definitely and you could definitely train alone and stuff like that, but I definitely think it's more gratifying like do it among people that are like-minded, that have similar goals and stuff, and I definitely think it's a lot of fun. I know it's always like kind of my favorite day if I'm working up to something heavy in like a squat suit or something like that. It's definitely really rewarding, and then just having you kind of feed off everyone's energy too. I think if everyone's having a good day and they're lifting heavy, it kind of pushes you to that like next level. And then if you're seeing other, like what's great is like we had Mel on last week, and it's like you see other girls. Oh, this girl's squatting 400 or whatever, and it definitely you push each other up, which is great. And she's like, she's closing in like on a 300-pound bench. You're getting toward like mid 200-pound bench in the shirt, which is like cool. So kind of pushing the envelope and helping each other like progress. So we talked a lot about positive things, and I always like to ask like if you've ever dealt with any setbacks or adversity. Maybe it could have been when you were here or maybe before. And like how did you kind of overcome that and like move forward like in your training?
I don't know. I think with me, it's more of a. I think it's more of just finding balance constantly with my schedule, and just because I'm so hyper focused on like getting into vet school right now, and the pressure is so intense of whether I'm gonna get in, and then balancing that with all the rescue work that I do, and it's just my schedule is just so crazy. So it's always just finding like balance mentally, and also the time, like kind of a time thing. It's like how much time do I devote to this, and and how many meets do I do? Am I gonna be able to mentally prepare for the meet and also do well and all these other things in my life? So it's just a constant like back and forth that I'm dealing with. But I'm sure that's a very common thing with a lot of people.
Yeah, I think one thing I know my friend Mark Bell always says is really like kind of, we talk about balance all the time and everyone tries to strive for it, but really like to be successful in like one area, it's you have to be like unbalanced from time to time. So your like focus is going to shift, and that's okay. And I know like one of the things that we try to do here is we try to like actually have the athletes train a little bit like less frequently than maybe some of the other powerlifting programs out there, and we try and get as much in with as little days as possible. Because we do want people to have life outside the gym. We do want people to be successful in school and their careers and their other relationships and things like that. And I think that's important. So I think that it's really clear if you're watching this and you're getting into powerlifting and you have goals to really figure out what you want and prioritize like what's important. Like for me, like training is always a priority, but it just the priorities are going to shift depending on like when I started my business, almost 7 years ago, that was definitely a focus, and then a little bit of my training and health a little bit took the back seat, and I think that was kind of, maybe it wasn't like the most healthy thing to do, but I know that was kind of necessary to get things like rolling. And now, things are moving along a little bit. I could spend a little bit more time and focus on my own like health and my own training and things like that now. So I think that's a really good point. Another thing I wanted to kind of touch on too, and it's just, not to like turn this into like a whole nutritional thing, but you don't eat meat, right? So, and I'm sure, like from, that there's, some reasons for that, and maybe you can talk about that, but also definitely as like a lifter, you always talk like you need a lot of protein and all this stuff. You've been able to be successful on a vegan diet. So maybe can you just talk about like how maybe some of the challenges that you face, and also like what that's, because I'm sure maybe there's some people that either maybe they want to try to eat that way, or they have some political or religious or just moral reasons why they might want to engage in that diet. Like for me, like we have, I try to accept everyone for what they do. And it's not to say like we recommend a certain like way of thinking or anything like that, but I know that's something unique, and I know some people probably watching, especially maybe some of the women watching, they might be thinking about that, and like maybe is that gonna like hurt me? Is that gonna? So how do you kind of maybe talk to you can kind of maybe talk about why you do that, and then get into like what are some things that you've done to help still improve your performance while maintaining your kind of beliefs and all that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's mainly for ethical reasons, but I found that my health has actually improved a lot.
Feel better too.
Yeah, I mean, my cholesterol is normal for the first time in my life since I've been vegan, and I've been vegan the entire time I've been powerlifting competitively, at least.
Yeah.
So I think it's just important to just do a lot of. I mean, I think with nutrition, no matter what diet you decide to do, you have to do do a lot of reading and research if you're going to go into anything athletic. So I don't think that it's really different depending on whether you're vegan or non-vegan. So I think you're going to approach it the same way. For me, I could say what I think works best for my own body. But it's different for everybody.
Yep.
So yeah. I think you just have to kind of experiment with yourself and eat a lot of green stuff.
Yeah, is there anything? Yeah, and I'll even say for myself, like I've recently this past year, especially, I've been trying to be healthier and like lose body fat and stuff. And I know like one of the biggest changes for me, I don't know if it's like a meathead kind of stigma for some of the guys and stuff, but it's like eating veggies is for like wussies or whatever. But I know like for me, like I've really upped my veggie intake, and I think that's been a huge help for me. I'm still like eating plenty of animals, but I think that's been like a small like kind of change that I've made, and whether it's helping me to stay fuller longer, it's helping me get more micronutrients, helping increase my fiber intake and things like that. I definitely think there's a lot of value in just understanding like what your body's requirements are and things like that. I know I've been feeling a lot better myself. So anything in particular that you do to make sure you're getting your protein in, or like on a training day, like certain foods that you like to eat to kind of just help you, anything like that, or?
I found that when I kind of tracked my protein and stuff like that, I would do that for certain periods of time and try to get more in and everything. I found that when I just didn't kind of worry about it, it didn't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
I found that I was just getting enough. On training days, I just make sure I'm getting like, I eat a lot of potatoes. I love potatoes. I find that they give me a lot of energy, and they sustain me for a long period of time. So that's something that kind of helps me on training days and things like that. So
yeah, so I think if you're even hard training, I know like for me, like I like to have rice like pre and post workout, so that like works well for me. Everyone's gonna be a little different, like what they like prefer. So I think it's good to kind of experiment and see like what works for you, and I think that's some good advice. But just I think the point is like if you're getting like the macronutrients that are gonna be appropriate for you and your goals, I think that like there's many ways to skin a cat, there's many diets that could work. I think that you shouldn't really be like really so like religious on certain one program or one diet plan, or just if it works for your goals and your moral beliefs and things like that, there's always like a way to make it work. So I think hopefully that helps some people that are listening that maybe are interested in that. Cool. All right, so last thing I always like to ask, and then we can kind of close out. If you had, maybe there's a woman listening that's looking to start powerlifting, maybe you can kind of go back and maybe think about if you had advice to like yourself maybe starting out, or what advice would you give women, or just anyone that's looking to start like strength training, like what would be like one big piece of advice you can give them to kind of get them rolling?
I think it's important to find a coach, because for me, and I think with a lot of people, and they kind of just spend a lot of time just kind of wasting time, just kind of.
You could save yourself some headaches and things like that.
Yeah, just kind of winging it, because I just winged it for a long time, and I see a lot of people doing this. They're just like my friend said his sister was on the treadmill for 40 minutes and then did was working out, like doing arms and legs and this and that, for another hour, and then she went back on the treadmill for another hour because she had to burn off the cookies she ate last night, and just like, and she, so if you just get on a good program, or even if you just get on like a good program, even if you can't afford a coach or whatever, just because you're gonna save yourself a lot of wasted time, and see a lot better results that way.
Yeah, I think that's big. There's so many resources out there. There's a lot of good information. Sometimes it can be paralyzing because you're not really sure where to start.
Mm-hmm.
But I know obviously maybe what kind of I guess ended up. Why did you end up here? And what would you say are some these things to look for if you're looking to get a coach or go to a group of people in your area? Because this could be tough to maybe filter out what's good and what's bad. What are some things that you were personally looking for when you started here?
Well, I mean, I was looking for, powerlifting specifically, but I know, some people may just want to be strong, or someone may be getting into CrossFit, or someone may just want to be just getting healthy.
The goals might be a little bit different.
Yeah, so you just have to look at what your specific goals are and kind of find a gym that's
caters to
that. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's important, and I think that it doesn't necessarily have to be the coach doesn't necessarily have to be a world champion, but I think it's important they have experience. I think it's important that they kind of worked with all different levels of people. So we have some people, Alex is getting to the point where she's getting more competitive, but we also work with people that are just starting out, maybe in their 50s and 60s that have never touched a barbell before too, and they're doing great as well. So, all right, really cool. So I'm not sure if you care or not, but if people may want to follow what you're doing, where can they find you?
What's my Instagram? Alex_post, I think.
All right, cool. All right, well, if you want to give Alex a follow, you can. She's got some great lifting videos in there. She's doing fantastic. I'm really proud of her. So thank you so much for coming on today. So if this interview helped you, please give it a 5-star review. Helps other people find us. If you liked it, share it. Give it a like. You know what to do. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next week. It's really simple, so who you are.
I knew this was gonna happen.
So you're a lifter here.
I know. I just gotta get it out.
It's okay, it's the comic relief part. It's okay. So,
Want to restart? Get the giggles out?
no, actually, I think this is great. This is good.
This is perfect.
This is live, recorded live.
Okay.